After running their way to a Week 1 victory, Lane Sack looks to make it 2-0, this time against a tougher non-conference foe, the Thornton Fraction South. Red Wolves are in Lane Stadium as Lane Sack opens up the home part of their schedule for 2022. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Alex, bursting above the 50-yard line here at Lane Stadium for what should be an exciting evening of football. Friday night lights are back here at Lane. The fans are pretty quickly filing here inside Lane Stadium. Looks like at least the Lane side of the stadium is going to be at full capacity. There was a lot of hype coming into today's game, and it looks like that is going to lead to a pretty good fan turnout here for tonight's contest. Lane Sack, as we mentioned, started the season off strong. There was definitely some things to work on after a Week 1 victory, but they're 1-0, and that is all that matters. Completely rushing game. They did not have a single passing yard in it. They only got rushing yards in their Week 1 victory, but if we're able to score 35 points off of it, why not do that? 5 touchdowns, all of the extra points good for Lane Sack, and that was a very positive sign for them in Week 1 of the season. They'll try to do that again this week, but they face a much tougher defensive line led by, for the TF South Red Wolves, number 71 Carter Thomas, number 72 Cortez Jones, and the player of the week from last week for TF South, number 52 Kenyon Peoples. He forced 2 fumbles last week. The Jones looks like he might be playing D1 football next year. There's a lot of very solid talent on this Red Wolves O-line and D-line. All those players, I should mention, are two-way players. So Lane Sack's going to have some troubles probably getting past that D-line on defense, and then on O-line, it's really going to come down for Lane Sack to protect their running backs. We did not see Mark Seward go out of the shotgun much or at all last week. That's the starting quarterback for Lane Sack. He was almost completely under center, so Lane Sack's going to have to do a good job of making sure that these Red Wolves defensive line are not able to break that line quickly. There's 12 minutes on the clock. However, we are going to be getting started a little bit later than 7:15 p.m. The first game went a little late. It was a big win for Peyton over the Von Steuben Panthers. However, the last quarter went really long, so this game's going to be getting started a little bit later. Fans are still coming in to Lane Stadium. It's just a great sight to see. Last season was pretty normal for high school football here, but now we're over a year past all the COVID weird seasons. This is probably the first really real season of football since probably my freshman year 3 years ago, and it is just great to have everything back. Perfect weather for this game. It hit up to the 90s earlier in this one, at least the upper 80s earlier today, but the sun has gone down. There's a nice cool breeze here in Chicago, and Lane Sack is hoping to use that to their advantage. They definitely do have the home field advantage here today, we should mention. The TF South Red Wolves, they're coming all the way from Lansing, Illinois, and for those of you who are not familiar, that's about an hour away from Chicago, and that's, I'm not sure if that's including rush hour traffic. So it's probably quite a long drive up here for TF South into the city, and now they're just excited to be playing at Lane Stadium. I talked with their head coach, Bob Pageant, earlier this week, and I don't think I've ever heard a coach more excited to come play here at Lane Stadium. He mentioned it multiple times during our phone call, just how excited he is to be coming to play at Lane Stadium. He has some previous coaching experience inside the Chicagoland area, St. Lawrence, Mount Carmel, and they used to play Gordon Tech here. He even was part of a game against Lane Tech once here, so he has experience here at historic Lane Stadium, and now he's hoping that his players have a positive experience during their first time here. This is game 2 of a home-and-home series that the Lane Sack football team, the champions, have with these TF South Red Wolves. Last year, it was game 1 of the home-and-home. That was at the Red Wolves home field, which is actually named after the Pageant family. They have a long coaching experience. We'll probably get more into that later in the broadcast, but it has basically been the Pageants coaching there for a very long time. But yeah, as we were saying, they played there last year, and it went all the Red Wolves' way. It was kind of close throughout the first 3 quarters or so. I remember watching it on the live stream. However, they pulled away in that final quarter, TF South did, and they ended up getting a 21-point win in that one. So that dropped Lane to 0-2 on the season. It didn't spiral the season out of control. Lane Tech did get into the city playoffs. They rebounded a week or two later. However, it would be very, very nice for Lane Tech to get to that 2-0 point. And I know it's very early to be talking about playoffs, but a win here makes the playoffs look a lot more likely for Lane Tech. They have not made the state playoffs since back in 2013. They made the city playoffs. They got their first city playoff win in, we think, 10 or 15 years last season. I think 10 years was what the people officially came up with, but they got a big boost last year. They graduated a lot of talent, but a win here puts them at 2 wins. 6 wins makes you an automatic qualifier for the IHSA state playoffs, and Lane Tech has a lot of winnable games in their schedule. Next week, they have homecoming against Hubbard. That is I don't want to say likely win, but it's a game that Lane Tech definitely can win this season. They have other matchups later in the year, teams like Clark that they hope they can get a win against, Westinghouse. And then there's going to be some toss-up games this year that in past years you probably could have ridden Lane off of. But looking at some week 1 results, both Whitney Young and Taft lost a little bit of talent last year, and those should be much more competitive games this season. Whitney Young and Lane was plenty competitive last year, and looks like that is going to be the case once again this year. But back to our game, looks like we are about under 3 minutes to go until national anthems and kickoff here at Lane Stadium. So we're going to get you into your key to the games for both these teams, and it's kind of one key split between the two. So first off, it's going to be with this Lane Tech offense, and it's really going to be focusing on their offensive line. We've seen what their run game can do, led by senior Finn Merrill. We also have senior Casey Joyce. Sophomore Spiro Memos was very impressive last week. So they have a couple of guys who can run the ball, but it's really going to be up to the offensive line to get those holes for this Lane Tech defense and get them what they did last week. Almost every single drive, when they were not converting on first or second down, they were able to get 3rd and short, they were able to get 4th and short, and if my memory serves me correct, they did not fail a single 3rd or 4th down conversion, they did not fail a single 4th down conversion last week, and they converted on a whole lot of 3rd down conversions just because so many of them were 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, and that's exactly what you want to see with a team like this that's just so run heavy. But for TF South, this is what Coach Padgett was saying. The key is going to be forcing those 2nd and longs, those 3rd and longs that Lane Tech really has not seen much this season. If they can get a big tackle on first down, even get negative yardage for the champions on the first one, that's going to make it a lot harder for them to get 10-plus yards on the next 2 or 3 runs, depending on if they go on 4th or not. So if Lane Tech is able to if TF South is able to slow down that run game, this could be an early night for Red Wolves fans. That is going to be their key to the game here tonight. We mentioned Finn Merrill is the leading runner, and he is our player to watch this afternoon for the Lane Tech champions. Last week, 174 yards, and it wasn't a super big yardage game for Lane Tech, as we see them actually at the bottom of your screen. He's going to be heading to the circle in a second. I think our camera may have froze real quick, but we'll try to get that back up in just a second. Merrill is the captain for this squad, and apologies folks, we're just going to work on getting this camera up really quick, and we'll be back in just a second, and I think we are good to go here. So now the captains are going to be walking towards midfield, 4 for each team. But as we were talking about, Merrill, 174 yards last week on 28 carries, 2 touchdowns, and on defense, he's a two-way player. He had a fumble recovery late in the game that basically clinched it for Lane Tech. There was some troubles late in that one, but Lane was able to pull it off, and a big part of that, you can almost give the win because of Finn Merrill. He was the player of the game last week, and he'll be looking to repeat that once again. But some other players on offense to watch for Lane Tech. You have, as we mentioned, Casey Joyce, number 81. Last year, he was a receiver for this team. He was the only junior starting wide receiver. Lane Tech graduated their top 2, maybe top 3 receivers last year. So Joyce, he was really the only option Lane Tech had at a strong wide receiver this year. So Lane has really adjusted to an offense that focuses very heavy on the run game. And with that, Lane has also gone to Casey Joyce a lot more with the run game. Last week, he had 13 carries, 51 yards, and even a touchdown against Amundsen. He was one of the 5 touchdowns on the day, so he had an impressive game last week. Coach DeWalt spoke heavily of him and Finn after the game, just saying they're seniors, they know how to step up, they know how to lead the team. They were very important to that Week 1 win, and they are going to be very important for a Week 2, Week 3, Week 4, and beyond win for Lane Sack, should they get on a little bit of a win streak here. Really the number one thing to watch for here for Lane Sack, or at least what I'm interested in seeing, is just how they change up their offense from Week 1. And really, I don't expect there to be much changes, but I'm just wondering if they can complete a pass. They attempted 4 passes, 3 of them went incomplete, 1 of them was intercepted in Week 1, so they just had lots of trouble in that first week with finding ways to pass the football. They were very reliant on the run. It worked out well, but this is a much tougher TF South defense. We're going to see how they adjust to that, and that's going to start with QB Mark Seward, who we assume is starting here tonight. There could be a change last minute, but all signs point to Seward starting. He played under center almost all of last week, but interesting to see if they give him some room to run the shotgun. Last year, he ran the shotgun a little bit. He had some really great passes last year. He was really the mobile quarterback, but he knew how to throw the ball. I was looking through some tweets of mine from last year, and I saw Seward throws a 30-yard touchdown pass. Like last year, he was a player who could throw the football, and we will see if once again he can do that tonight. Find some open receivers. You got to keep your eye on Casey Joyce, Gavin Cole, a tight end for this team. Giannis Katsogradakis, he ran in a touchdown at more of a fullback position, but he's listed as an athlete. He plays all around the field. There's a couple of guys on this team, and some younger guys, I should mention, who can really play this well. I'm actually not sure if we are going to do the national anthem here today, as it looks like Simon Olsen is going to head to the field ready for the kickoff. So looks like we are ready for kickoff in just about 30 seconds here from Lane Stadium. Very exciting. We are super excited to have action back here at Lane Stadium between Lane Sack and TF South. Just the second matchup of the year. Apologies, folks. Our camera is just having some slight difficulties here, but hoping that we can get this back up for kickoff here. 1 second, folks. So again, apologies for this. Lane Sack just getting in their formation here for their kickoff attempts. If not, we'll just have to do some radio play-by-play for this kickoff, but I think we should be able to get it set up.